Welcome to this WatchmanOne tutorial video. Today we'll be talking about reporting, graphing and how to get the data from your WatchmanOne system. So first of all, once you've logged into the system, you'll then navigate to the Site tab. In this example, you can then see all your sensors listed down, and if you were to pick an individual sensor, so on this table, you'll see on the left hand side of this table a small graph icon. If you were to click on the graph icon, you then have the ability to change the traces that you see on this graph that you're about to generate, and also select the date and the time range. By default, it shows the temperature status, and it also shows the high and low set points for the alarm. But if you did want to see any other data, such as the communication strength or signal strength, you can actually do that as well there. In this example, we'll just select today. This will then present the graph of that particular sensor for your chosen day. And as you hover over the graph, you will see in the bottom left of my screen the time and then the temperature in the sensor column moving as I move up and down the screen. The red line is your high set point. In this case it's set to 4.8, and your low is your blue line, which is in this case is set to 0 degrees. So instantly it helps to visualize where there's been a temperature spike. And in this case there's been a temperature spike in the middle here. And what you can do for ease of visualization, click and drag on the graph. This will then zoom in further detail to your particular temperature spike. And then as you hover over, you can see it in this case 23:00, so at exactly 11 o'clock in the evening, it started rising, and at 11:01 it actually got to 10.4 degrees, and then it dipped down at 11:04 to 4.2, and at 11:05 it started tipping up again slightly, and then back down again below the 4.8 desired temperature limit at 11:11. So in this case, from a management perspective, you can say, well, that's only 11 minutes above its threshold and there's no product safety issues there. At this point, you can either refresh to zoom back out. You can also download a PDF of this graph by clicking on the PDF function. There is also the option of a CSV, which will download an Excel for this particular sensor in this particular time period. The time interval on the CSV is how often you want to see the recordings. So you could choose from 1 minute up to 60-minute interval. To overlay more sensors on the same graph, you can click the plus on the top left of the graph function. You can then select your device. So say if I wanted to look at another chiller in comparison, select the same time period, and there gives you the option to overlay those graphs. You can also delete out any traces, so like the high and low set points in this case. And particularly when you're overlaying graphs, this helps to visualize the performance in two different chillers. There is further report options on the report tab of the WatchmanOne system. As you click on reports, you'll be presented with the drop down, and there's 5 different types of reports. The first one you have is a daily overview report. This is essentially a one-page report for all your sensors across your site, and it's in tabular format. So you will see here the sensor name, the high, the low, the maximum. The high and low is your alarm set points, the maximum and minimum that sensor achieved in that period, the average, and then also a recording of every 2 hours. Also in this report, you'll see any alarms that happened in that period. The second report is a daily sensor report. This report essentially is a 1 page per sensor. So as you'll see on this report, you'll have a small graph of that particular sensor for that day, and then a reading every 15 minutes. The next two reports, list over time period and graph over time period, are actually the same as the previous two we've just watched, but allow you to select a greater range, a time frame. i.e., we can look at a whole week from the 11th to the 18th. Click on generate report, and then you'll have still a page per day, but on this report we'll have a seven page report, so a one page report per day. The same applies to the graph over time period. This allows you to select a longer period of time, and this will be the same as the more detailed report we saw previously, where you have a page per sensor, but instead of just that one day, this will now have over a period of time. So you can see a greater time period on this report here. The last report is a raw CSV. Select your date range, and essentially you will have a full download of every sensor in an Excel format. This can be useful for analysing the data in different ways, or sending to suppliers or even auditors as evidence. It's also worth noting that on most pages on the WatchmanOne system, there is this option to copy onto the clipboard or generate a PDF or a CSV or an XLS file right from the page you're looking at. This will give you a snapshot in that period of time. You can do this from the site page. There's also on the alarms page, you'll see the same function under the current, unacknowledged, historical and audit. The other report on the system, which is useful particularly for diagnosis and for sending off to ourselves if there's any issues with the system, and just get a full general overview of how many sensors and the performance of those sensors, is under the settings tab. And you'll see on the top of the managed devices there is a button that says PDF. This PDF will then give you a full report of all the sensors listed and what their signal strength quality is, for example, and any other detail that might be needed for technical support. Hopefully this video gives you a good overview of reporting and how to get the data from the system. Again, if you have any questions or need any further support, we're here to help you. Thank you. For further support, please visit our website www.clipspringer.com.